Okay, today I'm going to be taking in the waistband of a pair of trousers. This is a really common thing to do. You can just sew in a bit of the waistband, but then you'll get, if it's a large amount, you'll have some unevenness underneath. So what you do is put your trousers on inside out, pin how much you want to take out of the waist at the back, and then when you take it off, leaving it inside out, you put one leg into the other, so you have essentially one leg of the trousers, and then you have the back exactly folded in half. That's the centre seam down here. And what you're going to be doing is sewing down here until you get to the crotch, slowly reducing it. So you're essentially taking a wedge shape out of the back seam of the trousers. It does bring the pockets closer together, either side of the centre seam. So if you have to take a large amount out, you may need to split that between a few seams. I'm just going to be doing one. I've only got an inch or so to take out, or 2 inches, one inch either side. I don't think that'll look too bad on the centre pockets. A little bit closer than I might like, but it's not going to be awful. Okay, so I have my first pin for the waistband, and then you essentially just need to take out continue with that pinning to take out the amount of cloth that I need. But I need to be at the seam in the crotch. So if I start there, increasing it, and then meet in the middle. Okay, that will do. So when you start the seam, just be very careful that you have both sides of the back nicely aligned. Otherwise you'll have a step on the back when you're actually wearing it. Instead of your seam at the waistband being nice and straight, you'll actually have a step, a visible step at the seam, which you really don't want. That looks a little dodgy. It's not too bad if the first few times you do it, if you're going to be wearing an open shirt over the waistband at the back. But it's always nice to have the option to tuck in your waistband if you so choose. But if you never wear tucked in waistbands, I don't think it'll matter too much, but it's always good to practice a better technique, I guess. My first few stitches, I can take that now bent pin out. with the waistband, I would always do a couple of areas of reverse stitching just to strengthen the stitching in that area. Otherwise you'll end up with a bit of a weakened area in your waistband, which means the stitches could break open. And then you just follow your pin line down. And up till now I've basically been sewing a straight seam, but I'm now going to be going around a slight curve. So you want to lie your material smooth and then turn the material to go around your curve, otherwise it'll look a little wonky in places. There, you can see this it's fairly neatly aligned. It's not 100%, but it's fairly good. Okay, so now you just want to cut out the excess material. If you are going to take in your waistband potentially temporarily, so if you tend to go up and down with your weight and you don't want to cut out the extra fabric, you can just sew that to the side so that it's smooth when you wear it. You don't have a big lump flapping around. And then if you put on weight again, or you need to take your waistband back out again, you can just undo the stitching and your waistband goes back to the original. I'm going to be cutting my extra waistband out. These are an older pair. I don't think I'm going to be putting the weight back on again, and at least I'm hoping not to. These are an older pair of trousers. They weren't particularly expensive. If I put on too much weight and these no longer fit, I will just throw them out. Okay, so cutting this out, leave about 1 centimetre of material past your seam. These are a thick pair of pants. Cut half of the waistband at a time because that's quite a few layers of material, and sometimes it's just a bit tough to cut through. Okay, here we have my extra bit. Now you can unpick the belt hook and re-sew that onto your new back, which I will do. If your pants don't have that back belt hook, you don't obviously have to do that. Okay, next step is to finish the edges, which is just a straight zigzag, well, a zigzag stitch over that. Want quite a wide zigzag. Puts it at a 4 or 5 width. Okay, so once you've come down about an inch below the bottom of the waistband, you can put your 2 edges together and sew them as one. Coming back to where you started sewing the 2 seams together, open it back out again, and then you're going to sew this second side. So start on the area where they're together, and then basically just sew over the bit. And there you have the edge nicely sewn. And I'm going to straight stitch this open along the seam line to hold that back seam inside open, so you don't have a bulge or a funny feeling at the back of your waistband. So go back to straight stitch. About 1 centimetre away from the edge, a bit more, edge of the new centre back, holding the seam open as straight as you can get it. You can iron this open if you would choose, but I'm fine with that. Now this pair doesn't have a decorative back stitch, but I'm just going to sew it anyway, just over the seam area. It's black on black, so you won't really notice the extra stitching too much, and it's definitely worth the trouble in annoyance of the material not being sewn is just very irritating. It's a little hard to see, but you can see that it's not hugely noticeable. I prefer it anyway. And then you'll just sew the second edge of seam here down the bottom of the now this line of stitching along here is the outside edge of that. So if you wanted to, you can pin that open and sew it from this side and try and line your stitching very closely to that, where you really won't see it too badly. You won't see it at all, actually, because that's where the original stitches were. I might do that. So we've got one layer of stitching that you can see, so nice not to see the second one. Let's just line that edge up with your needle and then And that's it. There, you can't see that second, where that second line of sewing stitching was put. And the inside is nicely sewn flat. And then just not far past the waistband, it joins back together as the rest of this inside seams do. You can leave it open, I just find that a little bit more irritating when it gets down around the crotch. It's a little irritating having two seams, I find, so I prefer to have just the one, which is why I do it this way. Obviously you don't have to do it this way, you can leave it open. You do need to sew both selvages so it doesn't fray. There we are. Trousers now. Nicely taken in. And there you can see the waistband. Actually, I don't think it needs that centre one because I have two. So I think I can leave that one out. That looks fine. Ta-da!